It is Podium o'clock on 32 FM 94.9, the station where joy resides. I am CHIKE OGBOGU. It's the 2nd of April 2022. This morning, we shall be looking at the fallout of the APC National Convention. We started that discussion last week. Government College Ibadan has been taken over by the Old Boys Association. On Thursday, the parents kicked, asking for the contents of the Memorandum of Understanding signed between the Old Boys and the state government. We shall be looking at these and many more on the program. I won't be doing this alone. I'll be joined by Professor Remi Ayede and Barrister Yomi Ogunlola on this edition of the Podium this morning. I'll be having a guest, one of those who felt he was cheated during the APC convention in Abuja last week. He had to step down. He will tell us his story. Did Professor Abidin Olaiya cry? Did he cry last week, Saturday, at the convention ground? Many people cried at the convention ground. We'll be looking at that. It's the Podium on 32 FM 94.9.
Safa phela isizwe simnyama iwasafa isizwe saba kavula moyo halini kokelize wemaye wemodo safa phela isizwe simnyama iwasafa isizwe saba.
The ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, ratified the election of the consensus candidate for the national chairman of the party, Abdullahi Adamu, and several other aspirants whose names are on the unity list. The governor of Jigawa State, Abubakar Badaru, made the announcement around midnight on Saturday after putting the name of Adamu to a voice vote. Other chairmanship aspirants, Tanko Al-Makura, Saliu Mustafa, Mohamed Etsu, Abdulaziz Yari, Sani Mohammed, and George Akume had earlier announced their withdrawal from the race. Adamu Abdullahi. After serving 2 terms as governor of Nasarawa State, he was elected as senator for Nasarawa West under the platform of the People's Democratic Party in 2011. He was later appointed a member of the party's board of trustees. However, he dumped the PDP for the APC in 2013. Before joining the race for the chairmanship seat, Adamu was appointed in September 2021 as the chairman of a 9-member National Reconciliation Committee of the APC. While much cannot be said to have been achieved by the committee in appeasing aggrieved party members across the country, especially after the state congresses, his role in the reconciliation of 2 of the leading political figures in Gombe State cannot be denied. Mr. Adamu, Abdullahi Adamu, carries some baggage. He was charged to court in 2010 by the EFCC, alongside 19 other Nasarawa State officials, with 149 counts of corruption. The commission accused him of embezzling 15 billion naira. In 2016, he was discharged by the court. The other people who vied for other seats during the Congress but interesting times. Let us see or listen to one or two. Many felt that Congress was going to be a convention that will be filled with rancor and squalid environment for the APC. However, the much anticipated convention has come and gone. The political party formed 8 years ago now has a new chairman, a 7th senator, and a former governor of Nasarawa State. Abdullahi Adamu now steers the ship of the APC. At that convention, some of the talking points: Olusegun Dada vied for the position of the APC youth leader. What happened to him? Many of them were told to step down. Let us listen to Olusegun Dada, and I hope we say, "Weep not, child." Olusegun, do not weep. Better days ahead for you in the party.
My name is Dada Olusegun. I hereby withdraw from nomination for the office of National Youth Leader of our great party. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Part of those people, you heard Olusegun Dada there cry. A certain Honorable Unduka also contested for the position of the welfare officer of the party. Unduka was not happy. He has been following the APC for a long time. He said he's a founding member of the APC. He has spent so much time, energy, resources, but he had to step down.
I'm Honorable Unduka. I want to say it very clear that I'm not stepping down for the post I want to go for National Welfare Secretary. I have suffered for this party. I walked through this party from here to start with everywhere. We started this party, it was only few people. And now somebody that just joined the party last 3 months or 4 months, they want him to be the national welfare. I'm standing for it. I want everybody to support me.
Thank you very much. This is democracy. This is very much welcome in our party. It's within your rights to contest for an election, and that is why we are here on this stage today, for people who willy-nilly would want to withdraw in the spirit of consensus that will do so. If you want to run for election, this is why we came all the way from nooks and crannies of this country to ensure that it's internal democracy.
Emotional Saturday there at the concluded APC National Convention. We're still moving on. One interesting part again. I'm giving you snippets from last week's convention, the National Convention of the APC. Barrister Marietta contested for the post of woman leader. And then the state party chairman came up on stage and announced by fiat that others who contested for that would step down. But Marietta refused at first. She refused at first. Let us listen to Marietta's refusal. Yeah, let's listen to Marietta's refusal.
Consensus building is now a culture. Some persons who came from Cross River State to aspire have since disappeared into thin air. By my power as the chairman of the party in the state, I hereby withdraw the aspiration of Mr. Ferdinand Adie Liberty, running for Deputy National Welfare Officer, Barrister Mary Ekpere Etta, running for National Woman Leader, and Barrister Mrs. Helen Boko, running for National Woman Leader. I therefore call on the return of Dr. Betta Edu. Thank you.
Dr. Betta Edu eventually became the woman leader, national woman leader of the party. However, let us listen to Mary Etta while she refused and she took up the mic and had a brief altercation on that stage.
Your Excellency, distinguished Senator,
Son of Dr. Betta Edu. Thank you.
No need to cry. She is here. You are contesting the election. Please, Anna.
my name is Mary Etta, contesting for National Woman Leader APC. I will not withdraw my this aspiration.
Thank you very much. There is contest for National Woman Leader.
She blatantly refused. It wasn't easy for her. But she came back on stage. She had to apologize, and then she accepted to step down.
Your Excellency, distinguished Senator, our new chairman of the party, His Excellency, Senator OGBOGU, and all the governors in the glass house who intervened, the SGF, the wife of my amiable governor's wife, and Nigerian women. I like to say that after due consultation or talk with my leader, I cannot be bigger than the party. I need to give my chairman that honor for the interest of the party and our dear president, who has wished that everybody come on consensus. I want to say I withdraw my contest as National Women Leader. Thank you very much.
APC.
You listen to Barrister Mary Etta there. She eventually conceded. She accepted to withdraw her contest. But the highlight of the day, from Oyo State, a gubernatorial aspirant under the APC and a former Minister of Communications of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Barrister Adebayo Shitu. What happened to Bayo Shitu? He was not happy, but he was later appealed to by a certain Ashiwaju. Who is the Ashiwaju? Let's listen to the appeal first by Aremo Olusegun Oshoba before you hear Barrister Adebayo Shitu speak on his conceding to the consensus. What is consensus? Did Bayo Shitu actually concede wholeheartedly, or do you think the problems of the Oyo State APC will still continue? Barrister Adebayo Shitu.
I have come here on behalf of the entire Southwest leaders and on behalf of the Yoruba nation. My mission is to openly apologize. The Yoruba nation have asked me to apologize profusely to Barrister Shitu. I repeat the word, profound apology on behalf of the entire Yoruba nation to former minister, former member of the House of Assembly, a founding father. When they were talking of founding father, I was shocked in the sense that Barrister Shitu was a major founding father as a member of the committee that drafted the constitution of this party. As a lawyer, his contribution was immense. I'm here, and he is number one, without an exception. Die-hard, genuine, and responsible supporter of President Muhammadu Buhari in Yoruba land.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I want to thank Almighty Allah for giving us this opportunity to address this gathering. May I also specifically thank my most respected Asiwaju. I'm not talking of Asiwaju Tinubu. Before Asiwaju Tinubu, we have Asiwaju Aremo, who brought me to this podium now. I have known him since about 1979, when he was managing director of Sketch, and very close to our government, the UPN government in Oyo State at that time. He has always taken me as a son, and I always defer to him. My grievance was the fact that under the loose term of consensus, the position I wanted, which I aspired to, was given to some other person on a platter of gold. And I said, as a lawyer of 42 years, I'm intelligent enough to know that consensus means conceding to somebody. But you cannot concede on behalf of somebody, particularly when you don't have an instruction. So I was not part of the consensus. But because of the plea and the reminder of the respect that I've always had to our leader and mentor, General Muhammadu Buhari, I've always said this, that before he appointed me a minister, I was a local champion in Oyo State. But by virtue of my appointment as a minister, today I've become a national figure, alhamdulillah. So I want to openly declare that I have completely accepted what has been done in the name of consensus. I will give every cooperation, and I undertake that I will neither go to court nor address the press again on this whole issue.
Barrister Adebayo Shitu there, aggrieved, right? Well, he says he's not going to court. Professor Remi Ayede, it's good to have you on the podium this morning.
Good morning, and good morning, listeners.
It's good to have you, Barrister Yomi Ogunlola, this morning.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure being here this rather cold morning.
Very cold morning,
yes,
indeed.
Very cold morning.
And then the question is, you listen to the last part, Aremo Olusegun Oshoba apologizing on behalf of the Yoruba nation at the National Convention, and then you want to ask some questions. Prof, were you part of the Yoruba nation, Yoruba guys within the nation that sent Asiwaju Aremo Olusegun Oshoba to appeal to Barrister Shitu?
Well, I think it is surprising for him to be talking about the Yoruba nation in that particular context, because as we know, the offices were distributed according to zones and according to states. And if you follow carefully, each of the zones brought their unity list. And it will be rather unfortunate to think that the Yoruba nation is coextensive with the Southwest zone, or it is the geopolitical zone. I think the Yoruba nation is much, much more larger than that, and it encompasses other states outside the Southwest. So for him to be talking about the zone, instead of talking about the Yoruba nation, instead of the Southwest zone, is completely misplaced. So I think I really don't know what objectives he thinks that he will achieve by appealing to that sentiment, rather than, dealing with the political challenge of the moment.
Barrister Shitu, Barrister, okay, Barrister Ogulola. You listened to Barrister Shitu there.
Yes, I did.
As a lawyer, he talked about consensus. Let's start this discussion this way. The party itself, were members of the party coerced because you could feel pain, you could feel the downcast from their speeches and all that. Were they coerced to stepping down?
Well, thank you very much. You see, what I witnessed, I don't know, but it does appear to me that most of the stepping downs and what have you were under duress. We heard Marietta, and we have also heard from Shitu. Yeah. And I know that there are quite a number of others who are also condemning this so-called consensus. You see, I have had the opportunity of going through some of the provisions of the Electoral Act as amended, particularly Section 82, subsection 3, which provides and mandates the political parties to conduct their elections democratically. So you ask yourself whether the so-called consensus arrangement was democratic. Because when you talk about democracy, you are talking about majority rule, minority say. But what we are seeing appears an imposition by a minority over the majority. So the way I see it, it is surprising. It is surprising that we have not had matters being filed in the courts, to challenge, the validity of what took place at the convention ground of the APC just a couple of days ago. The procedure for nomination of candidates for positions, by virtue of the Electoral Act as amended, is by direct, indirect, primaries, or by consensus. And that's the provision of Section 84, subsection 2. But where there is consensus, where it is agreed that there be consensus, the law provides that there be a written consent of all cleared aspirants who agree to step down. I doubt if that was complied with.
Your thoughts, Prof?
I think that there's a lot to be contested in that APC primaries. If you listen to the ripples that have come in the aftermath of that event, you see that there are challenges ahead. First, go to Nasarawa State, where Adamu comes from.
Yes.
The media aide to the governor had to issue a statement that people should shed their sword so that they don't look like people who cannot manage victory, because there were really opposition and outcry against that consensus candidate, even in Nasarawa State. Now, if you look at what Barrister Shitu presented before the convention, and he said this on public media, what he was indeed saying is that they were presented with a fait accompli.
Exactly.
That they have a list. We didn't know where the list came from.
Exactly.
And those who were supposed to concede were not part of the development of that list. Which then means that what is supposed to lead to consensus, which is negotiation, engagement with all candidates involved, that didn't happen. And that's exactly what he said. Now then conceding on the basis of the respect you have for an individual or the appeal from that individual leaves a lot, to be
desired.
desired. It's far, in fact, it's a disappointment, because when you then look at the other claim that is because I was a local champion, and the appointment as minister now uplifted me into a national figure.
champion.
I don't know what all those really amount to. I think there were moments of confusion.
Oh yes,
where character did not stand the challenge of the moment, and you also see that in the case of Mary Etta, because what Barrister Etta simply did was first and foremost to weather the storm, to see if but our courage failed her at the critical moment when pressure was mounted on her. Now the question then is, if on that particular moment she decided to give in, will that disposition subsist as we speak now? Wouldn't she be having a second thought?
Exactly.
And so many
after
other
the post convention events that might occur, many of these people who conceded at that moment, you want to ask this question: would they still be in the party? Would they feel cheated?
Well, we've started seeing some defections, and
exactly.
Yes, and then some people
wouldn't it deplete
angling for the primaries proper,
Exactly.
for candidates into the elective positions,
because
they are going to show their
the
hand.
truth of the matter is this: the position of the law is incontestable when it comes to matters like this.
Okay.
If they have obtained their consent, the position of the law is consensus facit legem. And what that means is consent makes law. So if they have come out and they have agreed, they have consented to the consensus, then of course, it probably will be the law.
Okay.
But that most likely would apply to those who came out publicly and gave their consent. What about the very many others? So I still foresee a possibility of having some actions arising from the convention.
Yeah, like you said, actions arising from the convention, you wouldn't expect, we shouldn't be expecting legal tussles from the legal angle. When there's a consensus, then it is legally binding, right? So we should.
No, but you must follow the letters of the law. So, for instance,
so what does the party? It depends on what the party constitution says.
It seems what happened at that event was that the document for consensus was written and people were asked to sign. It's not as if the people wrote.
They were coerced to signing it.
There is a requirement of law that they would have sent in their written consent.
Yes.
So if that was not complied with, and don't forget, by the time you go to the courts, judicial interpretation will be given to that provision of the law requiring the written consent
by the individual.
Or by the individual.
Not group, not a signed document by a group of people.
A party like APC should know what the law says. So they have legal advisors.
I think
they have legal luminaries within the party.
Yes.
So they should have foreseen these things prior to the convention.
I know that there are some of their lawyers who are also complaining. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I think I read a report.
Marietta is also a lawyer.
Yes.
The lady is also a lawyer.
So I have read a couple of, submissions by some of them who
CHIKE
are not in agreement with what we finally, or what was the end result of the convention.
Okay.
CHIKE, that people break the law is not because they don't know what the law says.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you must always know that. People try to do something even outside the law if they think they can get away with it. And that's usually the motivation. So if you say because they all understand what the law is, therefore they are not likely to break it, the empirical evidence does not prove that. In fact, what the empirical evidence is that people think that if they break the law and nothing will happen to them, they will damn right break it.
This is politics.
Because
politics,
look,
right?
they were under pressure.
Yes.
The convention was at hand. They've postponed it again and again and again. They didn't get consensus 2 weeks to the time. They didn't get it a day to the time. Right from that very morning of that day, they were still struggling with. I mean, somebody came there to say that I'm not giving in. And then exactly. Came back again to say somebody later said I'm not going to. I was not involved in the process of a negotiation, but because somebody just spoke to me, we heard when the person was talking.
We heard, and the truth of the matter is this: the law construes documents so as not to work injustice.
Now,
so as not to
on the
work
flip side,
injustice.
on the flip side, Prof, when you look at this, okay. The law, let's take it out. This is politics. Wouldn't there be some form of inducement, settlement at the end of the day?
There's always some exchange.
Don't go to court. Take this, and let's move on.
Yeah, but if it always works that way, we won't have the kind of crisis that we And the point I even wanted to make, which is an extended version of argument I'm making, is really that assuming that people would not do the wrong thing if they know that it is wrong. I mean, that people do wrong things even when they know that it is wrong. They do their calculation to see if I can get away with this, then I get away with it. And that's why some people will say it's the person that gets caught that is an offender. Because people try as much as they can to take advantage of any opportunity that is available to them, for good or for ill, as long as it satisfies their interest. So that is why, we have law, and that's why we don't just have law, we have enforcers of law.
If crime is more profitable, you can be rest assured that people would, embrace it.
We'll be looking at the other part of this. Let's look at the fallout. What will happen to states ahead of the elections? Will the states form delegates for the presidential ticket of the APC? What will happen in Oyo State? There were two factions that went to Abuja for that convention. The Abu Gbadamosi faction and the Omodewu faction. Who stole the show for that day? We never can tell. But the primaries are coming soon. Let's see if we'll have double factional primaries within wards in Oyo State. It's still the podium. We'll go on this short break, and when we come back, we'll look at it deeply, and hopefully our guest should be here, Professor Abidin Olaya, one of those who felt aggrieved last week Saturday in Abuja. He's back here in Ibadan, and then we get his thoughts and his perspective to these issues.
Safa sapeli sizo simnyama Iwasafa isizo saba Kavula mo Aniteleni ko kelize Wemaye wemodo Safa sapeli sizo simnyama Iwasafa isizo saba Kavula mo Aniteleni ko kelize Maya kana Asafasa pelisizo sinyama Iwasafa isizo sabantu Alamula Anijaleni ko kelize Wemaye wemodo
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Right after the day's breakfast. Yummy. With Mama Doll spread for bread. Yummy. We love this rich and buttery taste. Yummy. We love to have it with our bread. Yummy. Nutritious. Mama Doll spread for bread. We like it. Mama Doll spread for bread. Delicious. Mama Doll spread for bread. We love it. Mama Doll spread for bread.
New Mama Doll spread for bread. It gives you the right nutrients and energy to be your best each new day. New Mama Doll spread for bread. Deliciously nourishing for a bright start.
Gbogbo ẹni tọ́dún bá bá láyé ọlọ́dún ni gbogbo wọn. Ìdí nìyí tí ilé ìtajà Living Proof Bakery and Supermarket fi gbé àrà ọ̀tun yọ lásìkò oṣù Ramadan yìí. Gbogbo ẹ̀yin oníbàárà wa pátápátá ìfà àti kì í fani lápòyà rèé tẹ́ ẹ bá ti ra èyíkéyìí àwọn ọjà nílé ìtajà wa Living Proof Bakery and Supermarket tí owó rẹ̀ sì tó ẹgbẹ̀rún 10,000 náírà 10,000 naira upward. Ẹ láǹfààní sáwọn àgbọ̀kọ̀ ẹ̀bùn lóníranran bẹ́ẹ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ lẹ́dínwó ń bẹ lórí àwọn ọjà wa gbogbo. Pẹ̀lú ẹ̀dínwó lọ́pọ̀ yanturu bí oúnjẹ jíjẹ ọtí ẹlẹ́rìn ẹlẹ́rìndòdò ìpara toiletries sardine bread àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ láwọn ilé ìtajà wa tí ń bẹ káàkiri ní fẹ́lẹ̀lẹ̀ old pinnacle ìbàdàn lẹ́lẹ́yẹlé ológun ẹ̀rú road ládojúkọ mania fueling station ìbàdàn àti ní gastap filling station ọjọ́ tó ń tinú ọgbà lead city university bẹ́ẹ̀ àti èyí tó wà ní lp plaza láyégbọ̀n lẹ́yọ̀ road ìbàdàn fún àlàyé lẹ́kùnrẹ́rẹ́ ẹ lè pè wá sórí 0803-545-7120 tàbí 0815-466-4418.
ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ tó papọ̀ mọ́rọ̀rùn iléeṣẹ́ Yemsond Enterprises ló gún wá sí Yemsond Enterprises òdú tí kìí ṣàmọ̀fólókò nídìí èròjà ohun èlò ilé tó ń lona lóríṣiríṣi bíi tẹlifíṣọ̀n freezer air conditioner washing machine fíríjì rabandẹ̀rabandẹ̀ àti gas cooker lórí ìrànràn báwo lẹ ṣe ń fẹ́ sí lórí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ohun èlò ilé tó ń lona Yemsond Enterprises ló mójúlẹ́jà ẹ̀ yàtọ̀ sí tẹlẹ́nu torí nǹkan míì kọ́ wọ́n dá àwọn ṣe jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀ mi díje ló tún rọjú fún gbogbo oníbàárà wọn ní báyìí àrà tuntun tó tún rọ̀ bí òjò ní Yemsond Enterprises ní tàwọn ọ̀kadà tuntun tó fi mọ́ generator tí wọ́n tún kó wọlé látòkè òkun àjẹpẹ́ boko ọba ti jìnnà ilá kìí kó Yemsond Enterprises kalẹ̀ sí olówó tí ń fowó ṣàánú business complex Ìwó Road Ìbàdàn ẹ̀ka wọn sì tún wà lẹ́bàá mọ́ṣáláṣí ìjagun gbági Old Ife Road Ńbàdàn tó fi mọ́ ládojúkọ Nipco filling station Àpáta pẹ̀lú ọlọ́nà filling station Àkànfẹ́ Road Amúlòkó Ńbàdàn bẹ́ẹ̀ ni wọ́n wà nílé Ifẹ̀ àtòṣogbo nípínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun ẹ pè wọ́n sórí 08038789238 Yemsond Enterprises òǹrajà pàdé òǹtajà ìrọ̀rùn dé.
Ọlọ́run Prophet Sam Olúwa ló tún fẹ́ ṣe wọ́ndà.
Wọ́n ní Ọlọ́run aláyè ń bọ̀ wá sílùú Ìbàdàn látòrí òkè kejì ara kejì o. Níbi tí Ọlọ́run ti pẹ́ Apọ́sítù Ayọ̀ Babalọ́lá. Prophet Sam Olúwa ló Adámi Mọ́gò. Ìṣòro májàmú yẹn tó máa wáyé lọ́jọ́ Friday tó ń bọ̀ yìí. 8 April. Òru ìgbẹ́nijà. Night of Vengeance. Àkòrí ẹ̀. Prophet in the city. Dayland Event Center. Opposite Gbaremu Market. Paragon Stop Sango Ẹlẹ́yẹlé Pólírò Olùbàdàn làwọn ti pàdé. Aago mẹ́sàn-án lẹ́nà ibi ẹ̀. Ẹ̀mí àwọn wòlíì ṣe tó fẹ́ já ọgbà. Lọ́wọ́ agbára tó ju ọ lọ tí òjò kò rí ọ fọ́n. Agbára tí ò fà yẹ lẹ̀. Kó o dára ìrètí ń bẹ nínú rẹ̀. Àṣẹ àti pé ọ̀rọ̀ lórí àwọn wòlíì. Máa já ọgbà sọ́dọ̀ òmìnira. Àwọn olórí ẹ̀mí ìlà ìjà kẹ́tọ́ ní Ọlọ́run sábẹ́. Bọ́lá Discovery. Professor Molu Aluadami Mogo. Wọ́n máa sọ tẹ́lẹ̀ sáyé onípojúpọ̀. Bẹ́ẹ̀ la yóò sì tó wà. Láti rí wòlíì fún one-on-one counseling. Gbogbo ẹni Dayland Event Center. Opposite Gbaremu Market. Paragon Bus-Stop. Sango Ẹlẹ́yẹlé Pólírò Olùbàdàn. Gbogbo ẹ̀yàn ló máa sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ̀rí eléyìí.
Ẹni bí ta sí rèé o. Ẹni bí ta sí dé o. Àkọ́kọ́ lukọ egbògi tó ń gbógun takọ jẹ̀dí tó ń tọpẹ́ yìí. Wọ́n gbogbo takébé ríkèríkè ara èyí tó ń kàn ní gógó. Ẹ̀gbọ́n rere tọwọ́ tẹsẹ̀ egbògi rẹ̀ rèé o. Ẹni bí ta sí dé. Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, ọba ni Any Bitters níbi ká gbógun tàwọn àrùn tó lè sọ ní di kan jẹrẹ láì tí ìdàgbà tó nǹkan àtọ̀rá inú tí mú ní sọ̀rọ̀ àbàdì. Any Rehoboth Global Ventures ló ń ṣe Any Bitters. Wọ́n wà ní nọ́mbà 33 Ondo Street Labour Ṣótókun Avenue Bódìjà Tìjọ́ Ìbàdàn telephone 0803-862-7812. Bitters rèé o. Any Bitters ti dé.
32 FM 94.9. Filling the world with laughter.
Just because you do not take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you.
The funds spent were properly spent because we got them from intervention funds.
Only you waka come. There is God.
I don't know which party my wife belongs to, but she belongs to my kitchen and my living room and the other room.
Stay in tune with politics on 32 FM 94.9.
I'm Honorable Ndoka. I want to say it very clear that I'm not stepping down for the post I want to go for National Welfare Secretary. I have suffered for this party. I walked through this party from here to start with everywhere. We started this party, it was only few people. And now somebody that just joined the party last 3 months or 4 months, they want him to be the national welfare. I'm standing for it. I want everybody to support me.
Thank you very much. This is democracy.
All right, Honorable Nduka there. You felt his pain, right, Prof?
Certainly.
And now, such a person, will he still work with the party in the state?
Do they have a choice? You know, the unfortunate thing is that the problem of injustice and the problem of lack of fairness that we talk about manifests in various forms. And within the political party, you also see it occurring. And when you have any form of organization that does not guarantee fair treatment for members, the party is not likely to stand. And that's why, yes, he may be in the party, but he will only be there to the extent that he has no alternative. If he finds a better canopy or umbrella, he's likely to vote with his feet.
Maybe we'll use a better canopy. Let's not use a better umbrella. Because we won't preempt him to carry that umbrella. He's still with the broom now. For now. He's still with the broom.
Yeah, so
that's your thoughts,
Yeah,
Barrister?
yes, you see, that which is equity and good is the law of laws. And from what we are seeing, it appears inequities was what was shared at the convention. And that's why I am saying that it does not appear that we have seen the end of the convention. That there still might be a follow-up to,
In
what-
your
what-
state, we
what
have
we
two
witnessed.
factions of the APC, and then you want to ask, coming down state level now, we're leaving the national level. For the state level, it becomes so. It's going to be an interesting one.
Definitely.
Many of these states will have some rancor. For example, in Zamfara State, the court ruled in 2019 that there was no APC candidate for the elections in Zamfara State. The governor won under the PDP, and now they come to the APC. Now we're having these issues again at the federal level in the states, or your state there now. Two factions, a Modewu faction and the Badamonsi faction. And then you want to ask, would there be a synergy? We have heavyweights in the APC in Oyo State. Many of them, money bags, and they want to contest the elections. Who will stand down for who?
That would be a very, very difficult one to answer, especially when you look at what has happened in Oyo State. The days of the Senako, the Lamis, and what have you. You see, somebody came from nowhere and upturned all of those structures. I foresee, a lot of misunderstandings in the group, but knowing politicians for who and what they are, we cannot safely conclude now, what can happen in Oyo State. But I know that there is fire on the mountain. There is fire on the mountain.
Is there fire on the mountain?
Yes, there's fire on the mountain, and the evidence also shows that politicians don't learn. They are always very optimistic that they can always have their way. And if you follow what transpired in the build-up to 2019 and the eventual outcome, you will know that they might likely make the same mistake, except they decided that history should not repeat itself, because it likely account for the sorry situation they found themselves in the 2019 election. Even the sitting Cuban governor at that time could not win in his senatorial seat. So I think there's a lot for them to learn from that experience. But politicians sometimes repeat history. So you saw what happened in Zamfara State. And you also remember what happened in Imo State, where under Obasanjo, they decided not to even feed any candidate at all, rather than an individual standing for the election. So if they are so vehement, about their diverse position, then history might repeat itself. But if they are serious, because again, you saw what happened at the convention. They say it's because they didn't have a gubernatorial, a governor, a sitting governor. That's why they were marginalized in the calculation for those party positions. And if they want to continue their self-marginalization, then they can continue with the same division that had led to the problem in 2019.
All right, while we still await our guest, let's look at the PDP in Oyo State. Something happened on Thursday night. The other guy in the PDP, that's Alhaji Adebisi Olokbenyo, left the party. he left the party. And leaving the party 24 hours, Kwankwaso left the PDP to form, to align with the NNPP, New Nigerian Political Party. I went to Elijah Lokwenyo's house yesterday. There's this traditional cap the Kwankwasia movement wear, the red cap with the white line, the white lining on it. They were so much in his house. Many people were wearing those caps. And then when I looked on the table while I was waiting for him, I saw a brochure, NNPP, on the table. And then questions kept coming. But when I wanted to ask him a question, he said he was tired, that we should speak today. I'll still speak with Elijah Adebisi Olokwenyo. I'll bring you that interview. However, my observations, there's a movement. I don't know if he has done that publicly, but I saw signs yesterday. NNPP for Alhaji Bisi Olokwenyo. This is political party coming. Let me talk to you, Prof, as a political scientist. This political party coming, is it the third first? Is it what is going to be used as a negotiating tool? Or will it dislodge many things?
I don't think it's going to be a negotiating tool, because if you look at the people moving to that party, they fought very hard, in their original parties. And because they met a brick wall and decided that they have to look for an alternative. And that's what it is. I don't think that the New Nigerian Party will suddenly constitute a force that can upturn other political parties. Because, again, it's not like there's a new breed of politicians coming up with that kind of organization. It's one of those portfolio parties that have always been in the wings for any of these, I use it in inverted commas, disgruntled politicians to go into as a new shelter, a canopy. Let's not use the other one, as where they can keep themselves. So yes, it's interesting that the New Nigerian Party is not confined to the northern region, but that is likely to have a reach towards the southern part of the country. And as things unfold, maybe we get more and more heavyweight politicians joining those parties. But you know that many of those parties outside the APC and the PDP, because of course we can trace the APC back to the ACN of many years ago, to say that many of those parties are likely confined to region or in a number of states, maybe one or two states at most. The reality is that our electoral system is such that favors a two-party system.
All right, let's do this now. We have our guest in the studio, Professor Abidin Olaiya. Prof, it's good to have you this morning.
Good morning, listeners at home. I'm happy to be with you this morning.
How's your trip from Abuja?
Thank God.
Did you cry?
No.
Did you have to step down?
Yeah, I have to.
Was it painful? You wanted to contest for the post of National Secretary. Yes. You contested alongside Chief Iyolo Mishore and the likes of Adebayo Shitu. Yeah. And even we had a vice chairman candidate, a vice chairmanship candidate, that's Rekpete in your party, former Ajimobi's aide. And then at that moment, when Barrister Shitu had to concede, I was waiting to see you, come on stage and cry, because you just left the ADP to the APC. Coming to the APC, they've shown you pepper, right?
No, not really. It's just that the way and the process of handling the consensus list is a way bit far removed from the normal. As far as the party administration is concerned, there are three modes that are options that are available for us to elect our officials. We have a consensus, we have a direct primary, and we have indirect primary. So the three options are open. The only thing that happened was that the consensus was not followed to letter in case of the secretary, which was done with regards to the chairman. Because all the contestants were invited, they met with the leaders of the party ahead of the convention.
You met with them?
They met with them. That was
for the chairman. Okay.
Yes, they met with them and they explained why they wanted somebody, a consensus candidate, and they made a lot of concessions to one another.
Okay.
And they eventually agreed, and all of them signed.
They signed?
Yes.
But that was for the post of chairman?
That was the post of a national chairman.
Okay.
In that of a national secretary, 4 of us actually applied. We were interviewed, we were screened, and we got certificate of clearance to go ahead to go and contest the election. So we also heard that the presidency, looking at the ease of doing things at the convention, gave consensus a priority.
Okay.
It did not foreclose the fact that there could be election. There may be election, but then he said he will plead that we should give consensus the first options, and it is in the case that that option could not be adopted, then they can go ahead and have election. And eventually, we had an election for the post of national woman leader. It was contested. At the
Marietta eventually stepped down.
No. It was contested.
She stepped down.
No. You see, when the contest is almost showing that
she was not going to
win.
She had to concede.
But the bottom line is that she contested.
Okay, over to you, Prof.
I wanted to ask, the post of national secretary was zoned.
Yeah.
So the issue of consensus is not a problem at the national level.
Yeah.
It's a problem at the zonal level.
Yeah.
So what's responsible for that?
Yeah, we had our governors. They made the mistake of leaving out the state in the first instance, Oyo State. We had 6 states in Southwest. The governors happened to be the leader of the party in each state. In our case, we didn't have governor. So the 5 governors met and took decision without the Oyo State.
But you have a party chairman.
We have a party chairman.
So who is your party chairman?
Chief IT Commodore.
Oh, you are not under the Badamosi faction.
No, the Badamosi faction is not a faction.
Probably you were not recognized because you don't have a stable.
No, we have the party. In the party. No. We did have before we proceed to the conference. The national leadership have endorsed Omodewu as the chairman of the party. So there is no controversy over that.
Well, now, Prof, I want to ask. I know that you are one of the aggrieved contestants, at the convention.
Yeah.
As things stand, are you willing to go further? Having been denied the opportunity of at least testing your popularity. Are you looking up to the courts? For instance?
No. I'm not looking forward to the court.
You don't want to give us money.
Eventually, the party leaders, especially Chief Aremo Olusegun Oshoba, had to wade in to really, when an elderly person is accepting that he made a mistake. That there is a mistake.
So he appealed to your emotions.
Yes. No, I'm a Yoruba man. I'm a Yoruba man. If somebody, age mate of your father, is begging you that, oh, my son, I have made mistake. We have made mistake. It's not even in himself alone. The conglomerate of the leaders in Yoruba land that they have made mistake in not carrying us along in the arrangement leading to the consensus of adoption. And even the candidate that was adopted, we had his emissaries coming to say that we should be able to, because we were seen together. We were all Yorubas. We were all from Oyo Osun axis. So I'm not looking forward to go to any court or anything.
Okay,
but
well,
I'm hopeful that the party will do the needful.
Now, with the emergence of Iola
Omishore,
would you say, that the role he played in Oshun will probably
earn him that?
Exactly.
Yes, some people say something like that, and I said, no, that's not fair enough. This is the second time we will be asked to step down. In 2019 election, I with my governor, late Governor Akala, we were asked to step down for APC candidate.
And then you moved to ADP.
We moved to APC from ADP.
From ADP.
Yes.
And you were told to step down.
We have put in a lot of effort to that governorship ambition. You understand? So we were called that, come and step down. So that was the first time. Okay. Nothing has been used to compensate us till today.
For that event.
For that event. Even though we lost in Oyo State. But the party won in the national. And it was the national that came about that process of conceding. It was not even Oyo State.
Okay.
Because Oyo State does not have the charisma or the ability to even call us to step down for.
Why I raised that
so
issue?
This is the second time they will ask me to step down in APC in the same party.
Will you allow a third time?
So
would you allow a third time?
No, I believe the party should be able to do the needful.
What if
because that third time may not even come.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that third time may not come if the party did not do the needful.
Prof, I know that in conceding his constituency, during the Oshun elections, several promises were made to Iola Omishore. Perhaps this is one of the promises.
No.
Okay.
This is not one of the promises. Okay. There were some promises that were made to him, not quite all right. Okay. And most of it have been fulfilled, to my knowledge. Most of it have been fulfilled. So this issue of a national secretary being zoned is a recent, event. It's not part of the thing. Okay. And Chief Oyetola couldn't have promised something national.
That's true.
To compensate, because they do not even know whether secretary is going to be zoned to the southwest or not. So it couldn't have been part of the promise made to him. It was just in their own wisdom that maybe they just felt that Chief Omisore had a connection that some of us may not have. I would also imagine that if Chief Akala had been alive, perhaps it would have been a different ball game, because they can't shove him aside the way they can do some of us.
Well, let me ask you, Prof, quickly. Now, your party has concluded the convention. What is the next thing for your party in Oyo State as a stakeholder?
Yes, the party had some problem during the Congress, state Congress, and that led to a little bit of skirmishes between Chief Isaac Omodewu and Alhaji Abu Badamasi. And the National Party have sent a lot of emissaries to come and settle the matter. I am thinking that the party should be able to resolve it, not like that of 2019.
But the matters have not been settled.
You see, the issue is that in political parties, that's my own experience. Matters like this, if you continue to drag it, you are just going to be unnecessarily obdurate. Do you understand? Once the party have said that, okay, this is the chairman that is recognized by the party at the national.
Yeah. That's the end of
because
story.
National is the party.
That's right.
It's not the branch, it's not the state, it's not the ward. What is the party? As far as the constitution of Nigeria is concerned, it's national. So once the national has been able to recognize somebody as the leader of or the chairman of the party in the state, all other things are just child's play, as far as I am concerned, based on my experience in politics.
Thursday before the convention, Abu Gbadamosi and his team went to the APC secretariat in Ibadan here, the state secretariat, and inaugurated themselves as the party escorts in the state. And they even took part in the convention.
Perhaps you do not follow the information to the letter. It was not at the APC secretariat at Tukiado. It was not.
Okay.
Well, what we learned, because by that time we were already in Abuja.
Okay, what you
we
learned
is
different from what we saw.
Yes, and
okay.
what we saw too,
okay.
because the world is a global village now. What you are doing here, people can see it in America. What we learned and what we saw was that they held their mini inauguration at a amusement park, and we saw it too, where they stood there and they were talking about somebody being this and that. So it's not the party secretariat. But even if it is held at the party secretariat, it is whomsoever the party at the national recognizes as the chairman. That is the chairman. It does not matter whatever any other person calls himself. Somebody can call himself president of Nigeria, but the person who is occupying the House of Rock, who is calling the shot there, is the president.
Let me ask this. We know that right now the APC House appears divided. Do you foresee the possibility, like we are beginning to see in PDP, of some APC members decamping to other parties or forming another one?
Well, my hope is that we'll be able to resolve all this crisis by the time we have the primaries. Because the most important thing that is causing all this crisis is that everybody is looking at his own personal interest. You don't understand? So by the time we conduct primaries for the executive positions,
yes,
and people did not move, then it is only then I can be able to comfortably answer that question. But if somebody still feels strong about his ability to contest, and the APC has not been able to provide the platform for him, it's a free word.
Prof, are you contesting 2023?
Not yet decided.
I'm putting you on the spot now. I'm putting you on the spot.
You see, one thing
because we have feelers that you are going to contest.
One thing about politics is that you can never say, in fact, 24 hours is too long. You may not even be interested in saying you want to contest. And some powers that be, having looked at several other something, and they said, oh, you are the one that we want to push. Do you understand? So that's why it is difficult for me to say I'm not contesting or I'm contesting.
So what is your ambition? Even if you're not contesting or you're contesting, what is your ambition?
The most important ambition I have in politics is good governance.
Beautiful.
I'm telling you, if I have someone who I believe that this person can guarantee good governance, what's my business in the contesting? I have my job. I'm a lecturer. I'm uncomfortable with my job. But as long as we didn't have good governance, I would be interested in what is going on in the politics.
All right. You were not compensated the first time?
Yeah.
When you were told to step down?
No.
Second time, were there promises of compensation?
Yeah, there were promises, but nothing yet.
This second one that you just stepped down, you were promised things.
Yeah.
Can you give us one or two?
No.
One or two. We're not telling you to give us all.
No, you see, the only one I can even say that is mentioned categorically is that the party leader, the president of this country, made us to understand that the money, if we are not going to be refunded all the money expended in this process of contesting the election, the party should first and foremost return the money we used to purchase the form, which was paid directly to the party account. You know, all other monies goes to various axes. But the one that was paid directly to the party account, the president promised that it's going to be refunded.
You must have spent so much.
Yeah, of course.
You must have paid so much into the party account.
I had to pay 10 million.
For the form?
Yeah.
You obtained the form for 10 million?
10 million.
And you were told to step down?
Yeah. So, but that's not just one of the axes that you spend money for. If you spend money for so many things. But that is just...
Prof, but you must be a different prof.
Which was
you must be a different prof from my friend Ayede. So I've been able to.
Professor Ayede, will you cough out 10 million? Professor Ayede, will you cough out 10 million to contest?
No,
it's God's way.
Wait, probably it's not committed to
there's something we are beginning to see now. Many of the presidential candidates are coming out and saying some youths are paying for their forms.
That's right.
Maybe the youths paid for profs.
Did your students contribute?
Well, it's just I enjoy.
Because the way you said it, you said you just paid 10 million. You just paid 10 million.
Yeah, but I paid 10 million.
It just 10 million.
And also know that there's also political money.
In actual sense, I've enjoyed a lot of God's favor.
Okay.
Not really from political angle.
Okay.
I've been in politics since 1985. I've never been anything in politics when it talks of political appointment or contract. But one way or the other, God has been compensating me. And that's what's keeping going.
So at the end of the day, if you have paid back your money, 10 million. I'm interested in the 10 million. If you have paid back your 10 million, will the party promise you any other thing?
Of course, the party promised that they will make a strong case for us to be considered for any other
appointments
or whatever that we can be useful to the party.
So if you don't contest for the post of governor in Oyo State, we should be rest assured that you might be a DG of a parastatal, right? If APC wins again.
It is possible. It is possible. It may not even be before the election.
After the election.
It may not be even, it may be before the election. It may not be.
You are very positive. So something is coming, right?
Yeah, that's my belief, because at the point they made us, some of us to step down, it was too close.
Okay.
We have invested so much in that contest. If it had been highly wrong, we wouldn't have invested so much like that, because we would have everybody would have known the score before you leave Ibadan. I had to be in Abuja for nothing less than 2 weeks. I took my team flight from Ibadan down to Abuja. We are nothing less than 10.
Okay.
And we stayed for almost 2 weeks, reaching out to every nook and corner of
so
the
would you
country.
say
I
your
even
party
do Hausa campaign. I did the Igbo campaign.
So are you saying your party was not sincere to you people?
Not really, because you may not even say that is the party something. It is just a lapses from some section of the leadership of the party.
So some section of the leadership of the party were not honest.
They didn't do the consensus arrangement to the letter.
Was it deliberate?
We have been hearing it.
Do you think it was deliberate?
We may not think it is. It may be deliberate because they consider, maybe because they consider some of us not to be in their class. Like I said earlier on, if Chief Akala had been alive, I wouldn't think they can take that kind of decision without carrying him along.
From what Prof is saying, it is apparent, that the Southwest Zone suffered, or had this experience because of the absence of a governor. Because what we heard was when the issue of consensus was raised by the president, it was in
the governors
with the governors.
Yes.
So that that what we are probably talking about here may not be the same case with other states where APC have governors.
All right.
Yes, I think the point that Barrister Shitu was making at that event was that they've suffered because they don't have a sitting governor.
All right. Well, unfortunately, this will be the end of this session of the podium. Professor Abidin Olaya, thank you for shedding some light to some of the events that happened in Abuja last week.
Thank you very much.
All right. We'll be going ahead on the other segment of the podium. We'll be having the old boys of GCI, and we'll get to listen to some of the parents. What do they have to say? They're not happy that the government of Oyo State has given GCI back to the old boys. We'll look at that. Meanwhile, a young boy, Adedayo Muyiz, who came from Ife in Osun State to Ibadan on holidays. He's 6 years old and he was found wandering. He doesn't know how to get to his location. In case you know this young boy, Adedayo Muiz, a 6-year-old boy, you can contact these numbers 080 53 50 9970. I take that number again 080 53 50 9970 and 081 46 11 3680. Adedayo Muiz, a 6-year-old boy found wandering. And then if you know you have any ties with this young boy, you can come and then we see how to prove that you are the rightful relative of this young boy. We might not do a DNA, but we'll do a DNA. All right, thank you, bro, for featuring on the podium.
Thank you very much.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be having the old boys of GCI on the podium this morning. Don't go away. I am CHIKE OGBOGU.
Safa saphela isizwe simnyama iwasafa
32 FM
94.9.
Are you a young school leaver waiting for admission or a tertiary institution student held back by ASU incessant strike actions or professional itching to switch to a career in IT? Zenov Technologies brings you good news of its Technology Fellowship Program. This is a 2-year program where you are trained to become a software engineer or cybersecurity professional or data analyst or cloud engineer with an opportunity to work with a fast-growing company. Through these programs, all successful candidates shall be given a laptop each with hybrid learning model and have access to our technology hub in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, or Ibadan with a host of other opportunities. What then are you waiting for? Visit www.senoftech.xyz/tech fellowship to register for just 10,000 naira only. Application closes on 31st May 2022. For more inquiries, please call 0907 197 3859. Senov Technologies, a key to unlocking your potentials in IT. Omi làbù mú omi làbù ẹ̀ ẹnìkan kì í bómi ṣọ̀tá abájọ tí wọ́n fi sọ pé omi nìyè láti wá mú ìfọ̀kànbalẹ̀ nínú omi Vine drinking water ní kẹ́ ẹ béèrè fún níbikíbi àti nígbàkúùgbà omi tá a gbé jáde pẹ̀lú irinṣẹ́ ìgbàlódé láàyè tó mọ́ tónítóní tó tún fini lọ́kàn balẹ̀ ọ̀pọ̀ ilé oúnjẹ ilé ìtura tó fi mú àwọn aláyẹyẹ lóríṣiríṣi pẹ̀lú gbogbo ẹni tí kì í fìlera wọn ṣeré ni wọ́n ti yan Vine drinking water láàyò àdúrà sí ni gbogbo alágbàtà omi ń fi ṣe Vine drinking water tún bá ní customize omi fún èyíkéyìí ayẹyẹ tẹ́ ẹ bá fẹ́ ṣe bí ìgbéyàwó ìṣílé ìfinijoyè ọjọ́bí ìsìnkú àgbà àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ pẹ̀lú ike omi wọn tó dáyàtọ̀ tó dúró déédéé tó lálòpẹ́ tó dàbí èyí tí wọ́n ń ṣe lókè òkun owó péréte ni wọ́n fi báyìí customize omi fún ayẹyẹ tẹ́ dájú ẹ̀ sọ́nà yẹn ọ̀pọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ wá kágbọ̀n o iléeṣẹ́ Vine drinking water kalẹ̀ sí lane 17 Ajokoko street Ẹlẹ́bù Ìbàdàn telephone 091-2287-0706 website www.thevinewater.com Vine drinking water ẹ mú fọkànbalẹ̀ nínú omi.
32 FM 94.9.
Just because you do not take an interest in politics doesn't mean politics won't take an interest in you.
The funds spent were properly spent because we got them from intervention funds.
Only you waka come. There is God.
I don't know which party my wife belongs to, but she belongs to my kitchen and my living room and the other room.
Stay in tune with politics on 32 FM 94.9.
right, welcome back. It's the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. On this dial, we'll be looking at the takeover of the Government College Ibadan by the Government College Ibadan Old Boys Association. You just listened to the anthem of the GCI. In the studio this morning with us, we have Olusegun Abimbola SAN. He is the second vice president of the Old Boys Association. And we have Tola Obembe, the first vice president of the Old Boys Association. It's good to have you in the studios this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, all.
All right, quickly, congratulations, I may say to you, during the week, last week, the governor and his team approved the takeover of GCI and handed it over to the Old Boys. But on Thursday, something happened. Parents protested at the governor's office. It said part of their issues was that they don't know the content of the MOU that was signed. You didn't carry them along. They want to be part of the process. And they went on. And I think we spoke with the PTA chairman of the school, and we'll get to hear his voice this morning, and we'll get to hear his voice. Then we get your reactions to that. We'll get your reactions to that. The Podium GCI OBA. Yeah, that's what. Let's listen to the PTA chairman of GCI.
My name is Prince Adini Adiniji. I'm the PTA chairman, Government College, Senior School. I'm here with my other chairman for Junior School 1, Mr. Wushibo, and Junior School 2, Mr. Adibamiji. We are here to complain and express our displeasure on what we had last week concerning the Government College Ibadan, that the Old Boys have taken over the school. Our grievances is not about what they have been doing, but the way and manner the handing over is being done in secrecy. We believe that we parents, we are equally stakeholders, and we are supposed to be carried along. Up till now, nobody knows the full content of the MOU. But what we have been gathering so far is that they will take over the school, they will conduct the admission, and all of that things will be handled by the Old Boys. But we are now looking at it. Where is the position of the parents? What's the position of the students? And how do we move from here? So that's why we are here to see His Excellency, Governor Seyi Makinde, because he has been a performing governor, and we don't want him to be twisted in taking a decision that be against the masses. We all love him, we appreciate his efforts, but as he has said, and he has always been saying that he wants partnership, collaboration from both parents and other stakeholders. But I believe these old boys, they want to take advantage of that statement to take over the school. They are saying that they are going to conduct free education, but we know that conducting free education is not a beer parlor party. It involves a lot of investment. How do they want to sustain it? Those are the things we are expecting them. And besides, we are a member of school governing board together with the Old Boys. We expected them to have told us in the meeting what they have been doing, what they have been doing concerning because they told us they have been negotiating between them and government for some time. And just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we still had governing board meeting, and nothing of such was made mention. And we felt that if truly you are sincere about this takeover or handing over, so to say, you should have told us in the meeting, Old Boys are taking this particular step, and the position of the board would have been considered. Because the way it is now, the school governing board will not be relevant in the scheme of things. And what we're after is for government to look at this thing critically. Because we don't want to see by, because as we are here, many parents are agitated and they don't know what next to do. Some are ready to go to the streets. But we be the executive, say, well, they should calm down. Let us come and let us address this issue. And let's have the facts behind the facts.
All right, welcome back. You listen to the PTA chairman of the school. Let's start with the first vice president of the school. I want you to of GCI Old Boys. I want you to react to that. We'll have some other questions to ask you. the MOU that was signed, as a governing board, you had the PTA as members of the governing board and the old boys as members of the governing board. Did you carry these parents along?
Let me first start with the fact that there is no handover yet.
Okay.
It's unfortunate that Prince Adeniji has gone about all this way. Like he rightly pointed out, he's a member of the school's governing board. What has happened so far is we've signed an MOU. Handover will be later. When we finalize the handover, we will definitely carry along every stakeholder. Fortunately, like we also issued a press release earlier in the week, the PTA is an integral part of the governing board of the school. So, in fact, government is one of the things government hammered on, which is part of it. The PTA is being carried along. The board of trustees that will run the school includes the PTA and government officials or government nominees.
Okay.
So I don't see the fear. It's unfortunate that, like I said, they've gone about it this way. Being members of the governing board, I thought the PTA chairman would have asked within the current school governing board, we've read about this in the papers. So have you people progressed, or how far have you progressed with government? It's still work in progress. We have an MOU. We don't have a handover yet.
Okay.
That's the reality of it.
Okay. We have Olusegun Abimbola, the senior advocate of Nigeria, and you are the second vice president of the Old Boys Association, GCI, and then he has reacted to the MOU. There has not been any handover yet, but the question now is, for these parents, they still want to know what is the responsibility of the Old Boys Association when you take over eventually. Because they seem to be part of this, but they seem to be far away from your plans.
Thank you very much. And, well, we were all students in government college at some point, which means we had parents who were members of PTA and who held PTA meetings at different times. So it's not as if we're not familiar with the role of Parent Teachers Association. Again, as earlier said, it was a negotiation that took significant length of time, and it was a sensitive negotiation. So that PTA was not part of negotiation at that time was not intentional. It was just because it was a negotiation, and the terms of it were still being discussed. What I would expect is that now that government has announced it will be for the school governing board, we have already made that overture. For the school governing board, invite the GCI OBA executive to make a presentation to the school governing board, which we are willing to do. We have made that pitch. And then all the areas that the PTA might not be clear about, we'll be willing to explain it even further. Even apart from meeting with the school governing board, we would also meet with the PTA, because as a body, there's a PTA body that also meets periodically. And that's also the kind of engagement that we're looking at. This is a partnership with government. It's not us against them. And I don't want the Honorable Chairman to take it as if it's an us against them. They are making a point on behalf of their children. We are also, some of us have children there. All of us pass through the school. So we all are stakeholders. And to that extent, we're looking for what is best. When I was in government college, I know the quality I experienced. When my first vice president or the president was in government college in their own set, they know the quality they met. And we know the quality of what we see here. Their parents may not know, because in that generation, they were not in government and their children were not. If we're going to return that school to the enviable heights that it was, there are critical issues that will have to be done. And these are the issues that we have discussed. And we have been doing it for the past donkey years. Or 92 years of GCI OBA in government college is the reason why that school is still where it is now. And they also know, and I'm glad the chairman did allude to that they have seen what the GCI OBA has done over the years. But then, it is important not just to build infrastructure, but we must be able to have a part in building the lives.
All right, Prof, you want to come in?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it is not only at GCI that you have old students contributing to the rehabilitation of schools. Yeah. And I must say that it's a welcome development. And as you said, many of these associations have been in those schools for decades. You know. What is different, which I think is creating some misunderstanding, is the idea of takeover and the implication it has for the status of the school as a public school. If you follow some of the fears of the parents, they were talking about privatization. That it means that once it is taken over by the old students, then it is no longer a public school. And the running of the school, the kind of fees that will be expected and so on and so forth, it will be a different school, no longer government college as we know it. So what would be your response to because again, once a public school is privatized, it's no longer a public school. And
Prof, there is no privatization. Even in our own press release, which is this government had said from the beginning of its tenure that it is free education, and they have not changed that. And that's, in fact, our own the press release we made clarified that this government of Seyi Makinde has said that education is free in Oyo State. And that is what we've signed up to. So privatization, I don't know where they got that from.
Yeah, because before Governor Makinde came, the issue of privatization of certain public schools was already on the agenda of the Oyo State government. And there was a public debate around it.
Well, I think Sheung should answer to that because Sheung was part of that government.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Prof. There was never a time that privatization was on the card of any government in Oyo State. What we're witnessing today is the courage of being able to go further with the agitations of numerous stakeholders in our various schools, as you have alluded to. It's not only government college old boys that have made this speech to previous governments.
That's right.
Other old girls, old boys, and various others have made their own pitch in their own way on their own platform. But government college old boys have been on this matter for the past, at least to the best of my understanding, for the past 35, 40 years. Okay. So you can imagine how many governments we have been engaging with in respect of this. The last administration also wanted to go ahead with this speech. But unfortunately, like many things that are either not properly explained or not properly understood, people imagined it's privatization. And that's the same narrative that you are also hearing from those who probably have not really gone through the documents submitted and signed. There was never, and there isn't any privatization. A government school is bound by the policy of the government. It doesn't become a private school. It's still a government school. And you're bound by the policies of the government that set it up. That the government has decided that, okay, old boys take over the management, operations of the school. Does not mean we suddenly own it and we do what we like. And it's just that the management operations that will restore it to the place of pride where it was is what we are about. The Yorubas will say, we have built so many infrastructure in that school over the decades. You go to that school, it's like a university campus, and it's all courtesy of the old boys. But it is not enough to build infrastructure. We must also be part of building lives and the traditions of government college that all of us who are old boys went through, that built us the quality, the integrity, the ethics that govern our lives today were formed while we were in government college. Some of those traditions need to be returned and restored so that the new intakes and those who are current students can also get the same benefits that we got. And those are the kind of things that the government college old boys have been agitating for over the years. So it's not a privatization. There never was at any point in time, to the best of my knowledge, with any government. It was only pure management operations issues.
So how will you describe the status of the school when that happens?
It's still government owned.
But it's not like every other government schools anymore.
Which government school today can you point to and say you have the quality of infrastructure in there? When old boys continue to make this sacrifice, because, like I said, I always say anyway that 99% of those who spend their money on these schools don't have kids in that school. We are just giving back.
That's
the values and ethics that we got yesteryears in this country is not what operates today. And we're trying to restore our society in our own little way back to...
Yes, I understand.
Let me finish. Let me finish, please. The status of the school does not change. It's government owned. We have decided to continue to fund these things out of our own sweat. And I just don't understand. I joked with a friend yesterday that the kids in GCI today, who tomorrow will be part of us old boys, they will make fun of their parents that, Daddy, Mommy, how could you have done that? Because these same parents, I'm sure they have kids in other schools, they cannot compare what their GCI's children are getting from the school with what the other ones are getting.
I understand that. You see, the problem is not that we question the quality of transformation that the old students have done in those schools. The question is, when you take over the management and operation of that school, it is no longer like every other public school, even though it's still a public school. And it's important for parents, not just parents of people who have students in those schools today, but those who have aspirations to send their kids to those schools, would want to understand what exactly is going on. So yes, it may be a little bit like an additional burden on the old students to provide that kind of explanation. But I think it's the government should explain, because if it is something very good, it should not end with GCI. You understand? It has to go to, because there are similar schools. We can talk about Ibadan Boys High School too. You can see the transformation that has gone on there. So we really want to have, because traditionally in many developed countries, all public schools don't have the same character. There are boroughs, there are parish schools, there are all kinds of schools that you find in many of these countries. And I'm thinking that's the direction you are going. But we want to have a clear picture of what that kind of school will look like. Who will be included? Who will be excluded?
Okay.
Perhaps I come in here
before
now.
you come in, Barrister Ogunlola, Shamsuddin Adesina, also an old boy, wants to react to what Prof just said now.
Thank you so much for having us on here. We're grateful for the opportunity to educate and sensitize the public about the ongoing initiative concerning Government College Ibadan. Briefly, to react to what Prof has said, like my TLs, as we call them, my seniors in Government College, have continued to reiterate. It is fundamental to let people understand that in spite of the understanding between government and old boys, the status of Government College as a public government state-owned school has not changed, and it will not change. However, going forward, parents who are agitating need to realize that if they want to be fair, what they're actually agitating for concerning Government College now is not something that they would also be proud of in terms of the current situation regarding education generally, not just in Government College, but in all public schools. I can tell you, personally that I went to 6 primary schools, and I ended up going to only 1 secondary school, Government College. And my mother told me over the years that the reason she kept changing my primary school was to prepare me for the only secondary school she wants me to go, which was Government College, to be able to compete effectively with those I will meet there. As at the time I entered government college in 89, it was already a very bad situation. But then, it was like a dwindling situation that eventually got bad when we left. So now, those who entered subsequently didn't even meet anything at all. The education, the infrastructures are deteriorated so bad that there was nothing at all to write home about. I remember interviewing Professor Femi Oshofiso, and he told me that the only thing he regretted was that his son did not attend government college as he would have wished. He said he took him to the school, but went to visit him a year after and said, no, you can't stay here because the condition was terrible. The hostel facilities were near zero, and the teaching quality was almost dead, you know. And this is something that has agitated the minds of old boys, like my teachers have said. I can tell you that the current old boys, the national body, I think there is only one young person there, who is the national deputy national secretary, if I can remember, who is actually a young boy, you know, just about 35, 36. Every other person on that body do not have children who are secondary school age anymore. So there is no even any argument that their children will go to that school ever. They've gone beyond that. But we are insisting that we want parents to also benefit from what we benefited in terms of quality education, in terms of getting into the tradition that brought the likes of Soyinka to that school, in terms of the future of not just their children, but their children's children. So in going forward, parents have nothing to fear, really, because it is not as if the school has been privatized to the extent that they will be paying any money. All right? The most important part of this whole argument is the structuring, especially the boarding house factor. And that, of course, comes to choice at the end of the day. It's a personal thing. It's a personal choice. I was in the boarding house, and there were a lot of my mates who were day students. So whatever I was paying in the boarding house did not affect them. It was the choice of my parents to put me in the boarding house. So government and the old boys are not privatizing the school to choke the pockets of the parents now or in the future. So the status has actually not changed in any way. If we are talking about financial, burden, no, totally not.
Okay, let's look at some clarification.
Yes.
Let's look at some clarification now, because of time. First of all, you've cleared it that the government is not privatized. It's still a government school. And now, for those that are at home, will the students pay school fees? Let's clarify that.
It has been said, and let me say it again, just for the opportune time, that government college will follow the same government policy of free education in terms of tuition. Okay. So that is a non-negotiable option. The government has made that clear. It's in the MOU that it's going to be free tuition, and that continues. So there is no fear. Let me also speak to a few things Prof had earlier mentioned. You see, government college from its origins was established as a school that if you want to compare, you'll be comparing them with Ethan and Narrow in the UK. That's the standard.
It's a model school.
It was a model school that was supposed to admit students who were the best of the best of the best in terms of learning now. And we had students from different parts of Nigeria. That's why you have the late Oba of Benin. His father brought him from Edo State to government college. The late Professor, they came from north, south, east, and west to government college. But that was after they had written and passed an examination.
Absolutely.
They qualified for that kind of environment. But over time, as things deteriorated in terms of quality, in terms of standard, in terms of maintenance, and all of that, a few things were lost. And this goes across the nation generally, not even your state. A few things were lost. Now, government college old boys who had seen the good days across generations realized that even for us as old boys and for Old Boys Association, this is not government college alone, for all schools, mark my words today, the 2nd of April 2022, if these kind of initiatives are not embraced and established, in 10 years, 20 years time, you will not even have old boys or old girls. Because the current students are the ones that are supposed to grow in that same tradition, with that same empathy, with that same sense of sacrifice. But the values that will help them to develop it are not being taught. The traditions that we held on to that made it possible for us to still, in spite of not having children in the school, commit millions and billions into that school is the reason why we are here. But will we be able to replicate it in the current students who, when you provide benches and desks, come back next time, is broken? Why would it happen if they valued what they were presented with? And that shows the kind of change that needs to take place. And that can be done by government.
Okay, perhaps I come in here. I think the reality on ground is that government's earning capacity is dwindling, and education appears most affected, manifesting in inadequate funding and lowering of standards. The emergence of Old Boys Association coming to pay back to their alma mater is a welcome development that should not be resisted by anybody. I attended Baptist Academy in Lagos. Between 1979 and 1983, the government of our late father, Lateef Kayode Jakonde, took over all the mission schools. Baptist Academy, St. Gregory's College, CMS Grammar School, Regan Girls, and so many other of those schools. Now, a government came and returned those schools to their missions. Why? Because standard was falling. Today, Baptist Academy, which is my school, is under the Nigerian Baptist Convention, who are the proprietors of the school. And they have a directorate of Baptist mission schools that administers all of their schools, some of which include Regan Girls Memorial, Baptist Girls Academy, and others. I know that a lot of people are concerned about the ownership structure, of GCI following this agreement. But I think all the answers have been provided. The Old Boys Association of Government College Ibadan is just there to manage, to operate, and to develop that institution. And they have a governing board that will comprise not only the old boys, it will also have the Parents Teachers Association in it, and it will have government officials. So I don't think there is any big need for people to nurse the kind of fears, that we are getting. In my school, Baptist Academy, we have been doing quite a lot. We cannot see our alma mater degenerate to such a level that it cannot, produce the kinds of, Nigerians that we have today who are products of that school. We have an educational fund, and so many other things.
For the sake of time,
I think it's a welcome development.
I have 2 or 3 more questions to ask before we call it a day. Okay, quickly.
Yeah, because I don't agree with Barrister that once we have this arrangement, there's already a board in the school anyway. The point that must be taken is that the character of the school changes for good. You understand? But people would have to worry, because what you want to do is to return the school to its competitive status so that it can compete with similar schools across the world. And what it then also means is that the entrance into that school will become more competitive than it has ever been, and it will be open to all comers.
In fact, these are the questions I want to ask, and they are very brief questions.
Isn't that good enough for?
And I want to ask the first Vice President. Maybe we take these questions in 30 seconds. The mode of the entrance examinations into the school, will it still remain?
Currently, we actually do conduct entrance examinations into GCI for the past 5 years. Yeah, we've been doing that.
So the old boys organize it?
Yes.
Not the state government.
In conjunction with the Ministry of Education.
Okay. The administration and governance within the school, will it change? Or
no,
it will remain?
Because it won't change because we still have a principal and school management.
Who appoints the principal?
Who appoints? No, we will appoint the principals because we now operate, manage, and develop.
Okay.
But the government staff
and pay.
The government staff in GCI today will still be part of our staff. We will conduct assessment.
Would you pay the government staff salary or the government pays?
The government will pay them salary.
Then you have your own set of teachers you will pay.
You will pay.
Okay, so now for record sake, your takeoff grant, you're starting this, you're going to take off and it will be handed over to you. How much will be on ground to sustain that school so that these parents will not be scared of taking their kids off the school?
I don't know what will scare the parents.
No, they are not scared about taking their kids off the school. In
It's
fact,
just the ownership
it's
structure.
not just first and foremost they thought that it's going to be privatized, and that the school has all kinds of landed properties that some old boys are interested in acquiring.
It's
those are some of the things they were.
It's a shame that our PTA chairpersons will come and say that this is a government-owned property. It will never be ceded to anybody.
Right. And more importantly, in the last 2 years alone, GCI OBA has spent not less than 2 to 3 billion of our own money. Is it because you want to get one plot of land that we will spend that money?
Okay.
Come on.
We have to go now. Thank you, Olusegun Bimbola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, who is the second Vice President of the GCIO Boys Association, for featuring on the podium. Also, Tola Obembe, the first Vice President. And with them, we have Shamsuddin Adesina. Professor Remi Aide, it's always good to have you in the studios every Saturday.
It's been a pleasure.
Okay, Barrister Ogunlola, good to have you.
Always a pleasure.
Before I leave, today started years ago as an inspiration. As I first made way to this earth, I want to use this medium to appreciate all the love and support from you, my loved ones and friends. May our paths keep crossing into our old ages. Happy anniversary to me. Happy birthday to me. Until I come your way next week Saturday, I am CHIKE OGBOGU. Enjoy the programs on 32 FM 94.9. Bye for now.